On the morning of January 17th, 1994, it took 20 seconds for the Earth to move, leaving us with $20 billion in damage, 5,000 injuries, and 57 deaths. Were you prepared then? Are you prepared now? If you're not, attend a disaster awareness course. The disaster awareness course will be taught by members of the Los Angeles City Fire Department. It's sponsored by Battalion 18 CERT members and block clubs in Mid-City, West Adams, Jefferson Park, and South Los Angeles, just to name a few. This course will teach you within a 3-hour period everything you need to know to safeguard yourself and your family. Contact us here at Newswire L.A. and we'll tell you more. We'll also tell you how to RSVP for this particular event. And if you find after taking the disaster awareness course that your interest in disaster preparedness is deepened, I recommend you take the next level and join the CERT program. What is CERT? It is the Community Emergency Response Team. And it's a team of people, average citizens like you and me, who are trained by professionals, and we know how to activate ourselves in times of emergency. The CERT program is a whole other level, and it puts you in a team environment. I guarantee if that's something you're looking for, you should give it a shot. If you want to learn more about CERT, look at the information below on our screen. You can also contact Newswire L.A. With that said, let's go right into tonight's Newswire L.A. broadcast.
Hi, I'm Tricia Mitchell with Newswire L.A. and tonight we'll be talking to Don Q. Hanna, a Los Angeles-based photographer and musician. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. I'm Tricia Mitchell with Newswire L.A. and I sit here with L.A.-based photographer and musician Don Q. Hanna. Hi, Don.
Hey.
How are you this morning?
I'm great.
Awesome. Tell me what the Q stands for in your name.
Q stands for Quentin.
I was right. I was like Quincy or Quentin.
Now, I'm the fifth born in my family, so as far as I know and as far as I remember being told, I'm Quentin because I was the fifth child.
Oh, that's very interesting. Very interesting. So, tell me, you are a musician, photographer, but you also play with gadgets. Tell me about that.
Yeah, well, I love technology. I've always had a curiosity about science and the discovery of how things work, why things are. A little motto that I've always grown up with is not knowing is the opportunity to find out. Some people accept things and move on. I see things, question them, and want to understand them and how they work. So that led into academics of studying, in addition to communications, computer science, and electrical engineering. And that's just always been with me, whatever I pursue. Most of my instinctive pursuits are creative, i.e., music or the photography. As some people know from my Facebook and blogging, ice cream making right now.
Okay.
So everything I do is about, I guess, figuring out the science of it as well as the creative parts of it. So I worked in music manufacturing, where we designed musical instruments, recording devices, and things like that. So I was involved in that industry for a while.
Well, take us back to, you were born and raised in Chicago,
That's right.
correct? Take us back to the Rolleiflex that you talked about in your bio with your father. Tell me about that.
Yeah, well, that's specifically with photography. I didn't really realize this until later, but my father apparently had a real interest in photography because he had some rather sophisticated cameras, and I was just realizing this in retrospect. So this Rolleiflex is a twin lens reflex, probably I think designed in the well, they've been around forever, but this one is perhaps from the 60s or so, and that was something my father was obviously into. And then photography really didn't start as a real curiosity until about 12 years old, sixth grade, when I remember getting a hand-me-down single lens reflex, SLR, and then learning about it had a built-in meter, and then I remember metering and just learning how to develop at that age and building my own enlarger in shop.
All right, tell me about building that enlarger.
And I looked at the price of enlargers, and it was prohibitive. So I said, well, I could probably build this. Starting from a naive place, which is where I guess the impetus for a lot of creation can happen. A need, and then not knowing enough to say it's not doable and doing it anyway.
Right.
And so I just gathered the simplest of materials, sheet metal, and a light bulb, and bought a little lens that was designed for enlargers, slapped it all together. Most enlargers have a very smooth, infinite positioning up and down. In mine, I just put little levers in so it could click in different spots. So really rudimentary, but I just remember light leaks everywhere, but it worked. I printed a few pictures with that. I remember it actually working, like in the bathroom, the darkest spot I could find.
You graduated from Howard University. What
Yeah.
took you from University of Chicago all the way to Howard
So
University?
University of Chicago, at least in the Chicago area, is known for not just its graduate and undergraduate, but primary school.
Primary school. Okay.
And that's where I was there from third grade up until the ninth grade.
Oh wow.
And then I transferred to a school called Whitney Young.
Okay.
But so I spent a lot of formative years. I guess that's where my personality developed, being at the lab school.
Oh.
So that was grammar school and 1 year of high school, finishing up at Whitney Young High School, which some people may know about. That's where Michelle Obama graduated from. And then ending up first at University of Tennessee, Knoxville.
That's right, University of Tennessee. I've been there.
Oh, okay, yeah. It was an interesting place. So after spending time at a school like lab school in Chicago, Whitney Young, it was really a worthwhile experience for me to end up at a school like Howard University.
Okay, and your major was?
My major started off as electrical engineering, and then was communications, and I did some computer science minor.
At Howard.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
When you say communications, is that mass or speech?
Oh, well.
I only asked because I was a speech major.
Yeah, mass.
Mass.
Yeah, production. Yeah, it was just fun because there were gadgets involved.
See, there we go. Back to the gadget thing.
Yes.
So you graduated from Howard University, and you're immediately come to L.A., or
No.
it took you a good minute?
So let me see. I
Tell us
graduated.
that in between time.
Okay. Wow. I graduate, and then I start working in a head-in at a place called Media General Cable. And in their head-in, they're uplinks and everything, and so being a little bit of a geek there with the satellites, and then small enough company where you just do absolutely everything behind the camera, teleprompter, I mean, the whole deal. So, and I spent about a year there, and it was great. Nothing wrong with the experience. And then being a musician and playing in bands in college, I got this opportunity just to do music full time, and I was like, yeah, okay. I just went for it. I'm all about discovery and being outside of my element and being unfamiliar and getting acquainted and new experiences and all that kind of jazz. So I moved to Philadelphia, was hanging out there for about 8 months. I started gigging exclusively with a couple of bands, and
I know you grew up playing the piano.
yeah, piano, keyboards,
So you were a
yeah,
keyboardist.
yeah. And and I think I wrote my first song, not all that exceptionally early, but at about 15. It was called Latin Enchantment. And I wrote it after coming back from about 3, 4 weeks, something like that, in Mexico with my mom. So music, I would say, is my core creative instinct.
Okay.
But yeah, so getting out of Chicago, University of Tennessee, yeah, moving to DC, finishing school there, Philadelphia, getting the music thing started, and then from there is when I came out to L.A., and that was strictly for a music thing as well. And I ended up, because of being in Philly, I met a gentleman that got me on the road for a lot of years. There's a group called Change, which was at the end produced by Terry Lewis and Jimmy Jam. And he was the last lead singer for this group Change, Rick Brennan. And he invited me to come out on tour with him. They had already finished recording their last album a few years before. But so they were still touring off of that, and he invited me to come out. And that lasted for a long time. I would go out on occasion, just touring around Europe, playing and performing, and that was an awesome experience.
What are some of the places that you visited while you were touring in Europe?
A lot. I never got to Asia. It was only Europe, but it was not Germany. Let me see. So a lot around the UK, a lot around France, and so a lot around those two countries, and then a couple of spots.
Which was your favorite
France.
in France?
Yeah.
I figured you might say that.
Yeah, you speak English in England. It's too easy. I like the challenge of, and you get over there and make an attempt at their language and their culture, and it's great.
How different would you say it is? Which we all know it is different. Playing gigs here, especially like in Los Angeles or the local San Diego area.
Well, I didn't do a ton of playing out here. Everything seemed to be overseas. I'd say I really enjoy writing and production when I was mostly doing music, and performing was like, because I know so many amazing players. My skill set really developed around production, arrangement, writing, that sort of thing. But just in general, so I don't have a vast amount of experience playing around Southern California. I just would say, from knowing lots of musicians and always going to see them perform, that there's a sizing up or a comparing. There are genuine people in the audience that are there just to enjoy it. And part of enjoyment is probably encouraging the person on stage too, and giving them some feedback. And in Europe, it just seems to be like, oh, maybe you look good, you sound good, I'm into it. And the energy is really dynamic and a little bit less effort maybe.
Right.
The American audience has been conditioned to what's new, what's now, not necessarily what's exceptional and exceptional and talented and shows longevity and has history. It's just what's new and what's cool. And maybe for some reason in Europe there's a conditioning towards more of a historical appreciation and legacy, and maybe legacy isn't appreciated so much here. With that appreciation, I mean, to me there's an interplay between the creative instincts and the scientific instincts, which are creative as well. I mean, science is more, there's a need and you want to fulfill it, and you have the aptitude and the skill to figure out how to make something and improve something. But you need creative instincts to be able to do that as well, because it's going beyond what has already been done, and and making something new. And music is something new, something to experience, something created, from within the soul. So yeah, um, to me, when I think about music in school, I think about what it does to the personality to encourage learning outside of just music and music understanding, but in science, in math, in literature, in being curious.
Right. Back to curious. You said did more writing and producing here in
Yeah,
Los Angeles. Anything? Can you tell me
producing.
some names that you
Yeah, I was
produce
going to say
for?
producing I use loosely. I should use that if it's a professional. Um, but so I think I threw the term out there, arranging too. Now, I guess one of my biggest claims to fame as a writer, you could call it producer, but basically writer arranger is I did the music to an Oscar nominated short film called Tuesday Morning Ride. And that was an exceptional experience. That was a short film, 15, 20 minutes long, um, produced by a company called Chanticleer Films, but I had an opportunity to do the music. Tuesday Morning Ride starring Ruby Dee and Bill Cobbs. Yeah.
That's the essence of
Yeah.
a true musician, someone who can, you just do what you do, whether a person's going to be become well known or not, and at the same time, you never know.
That's absolutely what happened with photography.
Being a musician and being a photographer, you see things quite differently than just a regular photographer. So tell me what it was like doing that.
I think so, yeah. So, to put it simply, and semi succinctly, because I guess I can be verbose, but yeah, being a musician or being a good musician,
Keyword is good. Did you guys hear that? Keyword is good.
well, there's a fundamental, there's a foundation. Music means rhythm. It means there's a beat, there's a cadence. Um, Having rhythm means you can anticipate where a beat is going to land. I mean, this is just like super fundamental, not even how talented you are. But so, how do you know where the beat's going to land? You can anticipate it. And the only way you can land on a beat is to anticipate its arrival. And so I discovered that, just like shooting a moving target,
Okay.
you have to be able to, with ballistics, determine where something is going to be if it's at a great distance away. Uh, so you so you aim where something is going, not where it is or where it's been.
Okay.
So it's that's what intuitively happens with photography, but especially with shooting musicians performing. So as a musician, I mean, I know meter. I know when a moment's about to arrive. I can feel when a solo's about to crest, when it's about to begin, when the most energy is going to happen in a song, in a phrase, in a moment. I intuit this from experiencing it, and living it. So I'm prepared for those moments when they arrive. So just like a musician, uh, he lands on the beat by anticipating it. I land on that moment, that apogee of experience, that that highest emotion. Hopefully, I'm prepared for it when it arrives, and like, oh, dang, missed it.
Right.
So I guess that's the synergy between a photographer that is a musician and the performer that's on stage is enough experience to know when those moments are about to arrive. So you're there to capture them, and then with the skill set of being able to judge how you want context and everything else technical about the creative experience of the image and what it's projecting, but first capturing the musician at these unique, very fleeting moments, and then the instincts of the photographer of context, story, everything that the image can project.
Now moving on to the album cover that you did with
And
Robert
Robert Glasper.
Glasper. Yes, exactly. Now when we were off camera, you said that you met him the night before he won the Grammy. What was that like?
Yeah, so I've got a good friend, Gerald McCauley, who invited me out to the Roxy to photograph Miss Robert Glasper. I was like, yeah, sure. That sounds great. Gerald is an amazing friend, and he'd always invite me out to shoot. Knows me as a musician, knows me as a photographer, and introduces me to opportunities like that all the time. And so this was one of those occasions where he invites me out to the Roxy Theater. And I hadn't heard of Robert, admittedly. And so I go there prepared to shoot, and then, I go backstage and meet the clique, everybody, the manager Nicole and the band members, and I just start shooting. I just start doing my thing. It's really dark. Robert likes it dark on stage. Yeah, but I shoot anyway because I make my little technical adjustments and keep going. And I know he was there for the Grammys, and it was the night before, and I was just taking a ton of pictures. And then, they see him several days later. Gerald is working on this book. The guy I'm speaking of, Gerald McCauley, is the author of Down the Road's a Fender Road Story. So some of those pictures, a lot of them are what end up in this book from that evening at the Roxy. So he's there, and I take these pictures, and the manager sees them, Nicole, and everybody sees them, and they really like them. And then it really just begins from there. And then he's back in town at some other point, maybe weeks later, 2 months later, I don't recall right now, but then I'm there again shooting, and it's another performance, and then he starts recording Black Radio 2. So just after a few meetings and recording a couple of LA-based shows, then I'm in the studio with them documenting their recording of Black Radio 2. So if I'm not there every day, I'm there a lot while they're putting the album down at Westlake Recording Studios. So a lot of the images that end up on the Black Radio 2 CD on the inside, the front cover images are not mine, but all the inside images are. And so those are from the recording sessions of Black Radio 2. And what an amazing experience, what an honor to be there. And now I listen to this CD, and I just think about my experience there, listening to this music being born. And so, it was a really quick transition. It was just a few months from, that was February at the Roxy, and I think they were in the studio April, May, something like that. And just a few shows later, and then I was part of the RGX, Robert Glasper experiment family, and still, when they're around, shooting them to this day.
And what else are you working on at this particular moment? Because I noticed you kind of have like 3 jobs, one of which is owner, vice president, and supervisor. So tell me about all those 3 different positions that you have or hold.
Yeah, well, a company I work with that I help get started and help create the workflow for is Film Solutions, and there I'm a vice president of creative services, and a partner in the company. And we deal with photography, retouching, print services for the movie industry. And just real quickly, like most film sets have a still photographer, and if there's significant enough talent on the movie, those images have to go through approval before they get used for marketing, publicity, and that sort of thing. And traditionally, that sort of approval process was done by talent representatives or the talent in hard copy, printed out contact sheets. And the guy who founded the company had the idea, Kevin Matosian had the idea of just bringing that online and having every image electronically with metadata associated with it and metrics associated with it. Just an easy approval system, making the process much faster, much more efficient.
And then what about Silvercrest Entertainment?
Silvercrest is, so the guy that started, Kevin, that started Film Solutions, I met him a few years before, and he was Silvercrest Entertainment. So so just quickly, we ended up producing a film together called Lost. Before the television series Lost was named Lost.
You see how I just nicely segued into the film portion?
So that's yeah. So we met in so Silvercrest Entertainment had that production, Lost.
And that was your first break into film. Now, some people might think, wow, his first break into film and he works on Lost. Tell us, what were your points before actually getting, lost? Because some people might think that, oh, it's not supposed to be that easy, or how come I can't get a break like that? Tell us what was in between before you actually got to work on Lost. I just want to keep it real so that people who are watching, they don't become, because some people might get discouraged,
Well, it's being prepared for moments, ready for moments, and then when they confront you, you're ready for it. It's people give you an opportunity, and then you're able to prove that you can do it and excel at it, and then they keep you around. So yes, there's a preparation, and then there's taking action. Then there's which is really tough, not fearing risk and embracing risk, because everything that gets you out of a place where you don't want to be is going to involve a bit of risk. So
Don is a preacher as well this morning.
and it's just funny. Before this film Lost, I did Tuesday Morning Ride and did the underscore, and one of the actors in that was Bill Cobbs. And I go to Riverside with a friend to a restaurant. I never go out to Riverside. I have a couple of friends that live out there. I go out to see her, and she invites me out to this jazz club. We go there just to look inside, really, and I see Bill Cobbs there. And he doesn't know me as the composer to the film, so I just go to introduce myself. Hey, Mr. Cobbs, I'm the composer for the film. And he says, oh, great, nice to meet you. And who's he there with? He's there with this guy, Kevin. And I introduce myself to Kevin, and then I stay in touch with Kevin. And Kevin is the guy that I still work with to this day at Film Solutions. But from that meeting, we have a conversation because Kevin's a musician too, and so he asked me, if I can help him with Lost, and I do, and I introduce him to some finances with Lost, and then we get it all together, and then he's like, do you know anybody that can do photography for it? And I said, oh, I can. So, I shot the stills for that too. And so that was the reintroduction of photography, really, to me, professionally, when I did it for this film that I helped produce.
That's it for us here at Newswire